What is up, everybody? My name is Ryan Thomas. Welcome to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I am once again your host for the evening. Very excited to get this started. Thank you to those who have liked my new Thomas Take Sports Podcast Facebook page. Just created that today. So very excited to reach out to you guys in more ways than just Spreaker.com. YouTube, Instagram. Thomas Take is being spread everywhere by myself. Networking is the key to success, especially in this day and age. So thank you guys for submitting your questions as well. I asked you all to submit fan questions. I'll mention your guys' name on the air, what question you had, and answer it. But first, I have to get started with the subject matter. That is, as always, the Buffalo Bills. This podcast is dedicated to the Buffalo Bills and one Buffalo. As I described on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast page, this is a one Buffalo podcast, one that I'm very proud of it to be a one Buffalo podcast. But along the way, I'll also be talking about a lot of other sports topics, especially today, being that there's a lot going on in the world of the NFL right now. The first question that was submitted by TJ Fulcher, he asked me, who do I think is the front runner for the NFL MVP race? And I'm very excited to give him my opinion, my take, the Thomas take on this question. So thank you, TJ, for submitting your questions. Thank you for following me along the way and listening to the show. I really appreciate it. So who do I think should be the NFL MVP? It comes down to two people. First would be Ezekiel Elliott. Second would be Tom Brady. And obviously there'd be some debate there as far as why should Tom Brady be the MVP? Why should he get credit, being that Brady missed the first 4 games of the season due to suspension? But I think we would all agree on the fact that suspension was pretty ridiculous in the first place. He should have never been suspended for 4 games for something that minuscule, something that was very silly. Though that punishment, what he was accused of doing, what he might have done, very well might have done, that did not have any reflection on the success that Tom Brady has had over the course of his career. So it was a little ridiculous. Had he not been suspended, he would be the far and away frontrunner for this race in the first place. But being that he was, it's tough for me to say that he should get it, but I do think he's one of the 2 guys that should be in consideration. The guy that I think should and will get it will be running back for the Dallas Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott. Now, what he has done over the course of his rookie season has been unparalleled in football history. So the fact that he has been the most valuable player on his team as a rookie, the fact that he's been able to help guys like Dak Prescott succeed week in and week out, the fact that Dak Prescott has been able to lean on him to open things up in the passing game for himself, that makes Ezekiel Elliott the most valuable player in the National Football League. And I really believe that. I don't think Dallas would be 11-2 without Ezekiel Elliott. I think it's been more Elliott than Dak as far as the reason why the Dallas Cowboys are where they are. You look back in the season, the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the 3 touchdowns that he had. Without those 3 touchdowns, where would they be? And they were clutch touchdowns. The final touchdown came on the last play of the game, in the closing seconds of the game. So he's just been that guy that Dallas can rely on, and week in and week out, he has been the bell cow for the Dallas Cowboys. As a rookie, it appears as if he is the guy that they all lean towards. So that's my answer to the NFL MVP question. Who do I think should be the NFL MVP? I think Ezekiel Elliott should be the NFL MVP as a rookie. So that tells the audience what I think of Ezekiel Elliott, and it also tells the audience that if he wins the NFL MVP, he would obviously win Offensive Rookie of the Year as well. So Thank you, TJ, for submitting your first question, or the first question of the fan questions segment of the Thomas Take. The second fan question that was submitted by Samuel White. Samuel asked me about Rex Ryan and the Buffalo Bills, Terry Pegula, Doug Whaley. How far should Terry Pegula go? And I'm going to kind of segue into what I think the Bills should do with Rex Ryan. As obvious as it is to most Bills fans, they are out of playoff contention now, playing the Cleveland Browns this week. So I don't know, what that means for the future. How will a win be measured against Cleveland in terms of saving Rex Ryan's job? I don't really know. Really, it's a lose-lose situation for the Bills. If they win the game, it's just another win on a close to 500 or 500 record. It inches them closer to 8-8 or 9-7. But besides that, it's not a win that's going to save Rex's job. Do I think Rex Ryan should be fired? A case could be made that I think he should be fired. A case could be made that I think he shouldn't be fired. And in the case that I think he shouldn't be fired, this would be the time in which he shouldn't be fired, because of the fact that I feel as if firing Rex would actually set them back a couple steps. It would send them from maybe going 8-8, 7-9, 9-7 to maybe 6-10. And in a year where we are as frustrated as we are as a 6-7 team, who's to say that the fans would not handle it well if we took a step back from where we are right now? And I think that's very possible if the Buffalo Bills fire Rex Ryan. I've been a harsh critic of Tyrod Taylor since they gave the contract extension. I thought that it was a big mistake. A lot of people were saying I was overreacting a little bit, but I wasn't. I know the fact of the matter is that Tyrod has throwing limitations in the midst of his game. And in the midst of a game, there's things that other quarterbacks can do throwing the football that Tyrod cannot do. So to give a guy a $27 million option that's spread out over 5 years, that would be a little bit of a gamble, to say the least. And what direction do they go in if they decide not to give Tyrod the extension? What direction do they go in? There's a lot of questions there. But at the same time, you can't invest that much in a quarterback that you don't know if he's better than the next guy in Cardale Jones. You really don't. We don't know what is available in Cardale. We've only seen glimpses of Cardale Jones' game in the preseason, and I thought that this would be a very good opportunity for the Buffalo Bills to put Cardale Jones in versus the Cleveland Browns in a game that, if Cardale Jones loses us the game, then we know that he's not ready yet. If he plays really, really well against a really poor team, that boosts his confidence for, the remainder of his in the next phase of his career. So that's kind of my answer to the question. I feel like Rex staying in Buffalo needs to happen for at least one more year, being that he was signed to a 5-year contract. And this next season would be his third season. But obviously it would be on a short leash if the defense does not show improvement in year 3. And if the offense regresses, then, there'd be some sort of a power struggle, just like there is this year between Rex Ryan and Doug Whaley. I don't think that Doug Whaley has done a good job of putting the right players on the Buffalo Bills, providing the Buffalo Bills and Rex Ryan with the right fit. That's Doug Whaley's job in a nutshell. His job is to bring in the right players that fit Rex Ryan's scheme. And in spades, I don't know if he's necessarily done that. I don't know if he's done that on the offensive side of the ball. Doug Whaley has been very aggressive, making the trades like for Sammy Watkins. And it's paid off in cases of trading Kiko Alonso for LaShawn McCoy. But in the case of Sammy Watkins, it hasn't yet. And I'm not saying that Sammy is a bust, but it hasn't yet paid off. There's been glimpses of greatness from Sammy Watkins, but to invest that much in one player when we had all these options available in this draft. In that draft with Sammy Watkins, Odell Beckham Jr., Mike Evans, Kelvin Benjamin, Brandon Cooks. I mean, there was options available, and a Bill Polian type guy would not have made that move. If anything, he might have traded back into the first round, collected more draft choices for the Buffalo Bills to fill the several needs that they have. And Doug Whaley is just as responsible for this team's failures as anybody, in my eyes. One guy that has gone completely unnoticed in this whole finger-pointing epidemic, you could say, is Russ Brandon, the president of Pro Football Operations for the Buffalo Bills. How does the president go completely unnoticed in a finger-pointing game? A guy that is also in charge of the Buffalo Sabres, which is he holds the CEO role that Ted Black held with the Buffalo Sabres for a short time. Russ Brandon has been a part of the Bills organization for the last 20 years, and what has he done? What has he done, and what does he do? I don't know what his function, job, what is in his job description, but I know he did things regionally for the Buffalo Bills, bringing the Buffalo Bills training camp to Pittsford near Rochester at St. John Fisher, which is his alma mater. I know that he's done a few things as far as regionalizing the team in Toronto, which, to the dismay of many fans, thankfully was shut down. That was a disaster. Bits and pieces of, taking the team over during Ralph's failing health tribulations, and he hasn't really done much to help improve the team, the actual product on the field. He's helped the Bills brand in a business sense. He's helped them sell 60,000 tickets. He's helped them sell false hope. But other than that, he hasn't really done a whole lot to make the actual product better. A lot of empty promises, empty guarantees. He was pro-Rex because of the fact that he thought the fan base needed a little bit of rejuvenation, which it did, but it shouldn't be about the fan base. It should be about bringing in a guy that can help us win, because at the end of the day, that's what the fans want. The fans want to root for a Buffalo Bills team that can win. So that is my long take, not really that long, but that's my answer to the question submitted by Samuel White. So thank you guys for submitting the fan questions. Part 2 of the Thomas Take will continue. This is part 1, the first 15 minutes. The Thomas Take has always been broken up into 15-minute segments, so this was part 1. Part 2, I'm going to talk about the curious case of the Los Angeles Rams. What is the next step for the LA Rams now that Jeff Fisher has been fired? Do the Los Angeles Rams hire someone in the NFL circle? Do they hire someone in the college ranks? I'm going to give you guys my take on who I think the Los Angeles Rams should hire and why. Stay tuned. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll be right back.